Hi everyone, my name is FlygonHG, and normally I do hardcore Nuzlockes, usually with some type of twist. But in this video, I want to share some ways that you can improve your general Nuzlocke skills. One of the most common questions I get asked is some version of, what advice do you have for beginner Nuzlockers? And I've wanted to make a video series addressing this question for quite some time, because my favorite thing about my challenge runs is when people tell me that it's inspired them to try a Nuzlocke of their own. This video is meant to provide just a few general points that I think can help everyone in any Nuzlocke, but I do have a lot of ideas for videos like this talking about more specific game mechanics. So if you like this video and want more videos where I give Nuzlocke advice and analysis, let me know in the comments. And while you're there, be sure to like the video and subscribe, if you want. Okay, let's get started with 6 ways that you can improve your Nuzlocke skills. Number 1. Nuzlockes are meant to be fun. Although this isn't necessarily something that will directly improve your Nuzlocke skills, I think it's an important point to start with. Don't let Nuzlocke rules ruin your experience with the game, and don't worry too much about them. There is no one right way to do a Nuzlocke, and you should never feel pressured to do the hardest possible version of a Nuzlocke, no matter what some condescending idiots on the internet say. Especially when you're just starting out, it's okay to play loose with the rules. Be honest, but have fun. If it's your first Nuzlocke and you lost your starter in Victory Road, who cares? Give yourself a mulligan and just finish the game. Next time, try it again with no mulligans, if you want. Nuzlockes are meant to be what you want them to be, so make sure that they're, above all else, fun. And when they're not, change the rules, take a break, or try a different challenge. Number 2. Don't overthink things. This is probably the most important lesson, as it can be applied to so many facets of the game. Sometimes the easiest play is the best play. There's no need to come up with a complex play if spamming Surf from your powerful water type is the best play possible. Although in-depth game knowledge is incredibly helpful, it can also be a crux if you overthink things. Yes, you are a special and very smart individual for knowing what Natures, EVs, and IVs are. But in about 90% of Nuzlockes, Natures, EVs, and IVs really don't matter all that much, especially Natures. Stop letting the nature of your Pokemon dictate its role on your team. Natures only impact a stat by 10%, so an Adamant Kadabra is still an incredibly powerful special sweeper, and a Quiet Crobat is still insanely fast. The best example of this is with Eevee, since it can evolve into a range of different Pokemon, each with their own roles on a team. In my most recent playthrough of Ultra Sun, I got an Adamant Eevee, and people damn near lost their minds when I evolved it into a Vaporeon. But it's Adamant! That's minus attack! Why didn't you evolve it into a Flareon? Well, because Flareon kind of sucks. And I also already had a strong fire type in Houndoom. In the moment, what my team desperately needed was a bulky water type with Water Absorb. In general, especially during Nuzlockes without any added rules like monotype challenges, don't overthink things. Number 3. Always minimize RNG. RNG is a staple in any competitive game like Pokemon, and it's impossible to completely avoid it. But the best Nuzlockers will optimize their playstyle to reduce the chance of unfortunate RNG. The most common and frustrating types of RNG are when your opponent gets a critical hit, when your opponent procs a secondary effect from a move such as an Omni Boost from Ancient Power or Paralysis from Body Slam, and when you miss a move, either due to low accuracy or some sort of status condition like Confusion or Paralysis. There's a lot of ways to minimize RNG, but one of the most important things to keep in mind is that the longer the battle is, the more likely you are to get screwed by RNG, statistically speaking. So, if you can finish a battle in 4 turns instead of 5 turns, that's 1 less turn that your opponent has the chance to get a critical hit. Get in, get out. The other way to minimize RNG is to avoid using moves that are not 100% accurate as often as possible, even if it means sacrificing some power. Even with a 95% accurate move, over the course of an entire run where you're using that move multiple times, you will miss, probably more than once. That's just how probability works. So while moves like Hydro Pump, Fire Blast, Blizzard, and Thunder are enticing for their insane power, it's best to just avoid them unless you absolutely have to use them as some sort of Hail Mary. It's better to just use Surf, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, or Thunderbolt. Same goes for moves like Will-O-Wisp, Sleep Powder, Hypnosis, and Screech. They're useful moves to have for sure, but you never want to find yourself risking an entire run on hitting a 75% accurate Sleep Powder. Number 4. Always think about pivoting. Although this doesn't matter nearly as much if you're playing on Switch mode, pivoting is incredibly useful and not always the easiest thing to remember. Pivoting refers to using one Pokemon solely to bait a move from your opponent so that you can get another Pokemon in safely. For example, in Ultra Sun, the Totem Kommo-o knows Dragon Claw, Drain Punch, Thunder Punch, and Poison Jab. I want to start with Gyarados to get an attack drop with Intimidate. Since Gyarados is ×4 weak to Thunder Punch, that's what the Kommo-o is going to go for. Ultimately, I want to bring out my Carbink, but if I switch straight to Carbink from Gyarados, a Thunder Punch might paralyze him, which would be really bad. Instead, I can switch to Gastrodon, who is immune to Thunder Punch, and then I can switch to Carbink, who happens to be immune to Kommo-o's Dragon Claw. Gastrodon didn't actually do any damage to Kommo-o, but she was invaluable to getting Carbink in safely. I have a lot more that I could say about examples of pivoting cores and how to build a team that gives you the best pivoting strategies, but I think I'll save that for another video if people seem interested. For now, it's enough to just say that you should always be thinking about how your Pokemon's resistances, and more importantly their immunities, can be used for easy pivoting. Number 5. Use all your Pokemon. In regular playthroughs of a Pokemon game, it's pretty common to pick 6 Pokemon for your team and use them for every battle in the game. That's how I play at least, but you don't have to do that. You don't need to just use the same 6 Pokemon in every fight. Specifically optimize your team for the challenge ahead. If you're about to fight a Fire-type gym leader, leave your Grass type in the box and bring a second Water type. If you're fighting a team with strong physical attackers, bring 2 Pokemon with Intimidate. It might take a little bit to train up your Pokemon to the right level, but it's worth it. Alternatively, you can plan to bring a Pokemon that you can sacrifice if you find yourself in a bind. Sacrificing a Pokemon that's normally sitting in the box might give you the extra turn you need to get a safe switch or heal up one of your Pokemon that's waiting in the back. As much as it hurts, the best Nuzlockers know when to make a smart sacrifice. So be sure to use all your resources, and don't be afraid to customize your team of 6 for each major challenge. Lastly, number 6. Practice makes perfect. This last tip is one that can be applied to basically anything that you're trying to get better at. If you aren't immediately good at Nuzlocking, that's okay. Nuzlocks are hard, and it takes time to figure out how to crack them. But like any video game or sport or hobby, the more you do it, the better you'll be. I've been playing Pokemon games for over 20 years, and I've been Nuzlocking for about a decade, but I didn't beat the first Nuzlocke I ever tried. No, my Fearow died to a self-destruct coughing in Silphco, and I got so upset that I turned off the game and pretended that it never happened. That's a failure, but I learned from that failure to always be wary of coughing and wheezing. And eventually, after a few more failed attempts, I finally completed a Nuzlocke. And then after that, I never made a single mistake for the rest of my long storied career as a Nuzlocker. But of course, not everyone can be me. So to add an addendum to this final tip, it's important to remember that nobody is perfect no matter how much you practice. Except for me. You will make mistakes, because humans are stupid. I mean, look around you. So just remember to not kick yourself too hard when you make a mistake. The best Nuzlockers learn from their mistakes and try to reflect on how they can avoid making the same mistake again. So there you have it. 6 tips or pieces of advice or whatever that will hopefully help you improve your skills as a Nuzlocker. Whether it's your first Nuzlocke or your 100th Nuzlocke, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, like the video and subscribe, if you want. And if there's other things that you'd like me to cover in future videos, let me know down in the comments. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.